Frank! He's appointing himself judge, jury, and executioner!
He's not judge, jury, and executioner!
He is!
Today we're gonna be taking a look at Hot Fuzz. I think the 2000s have to be the best era for comedies, maybe since movies were invented. And among the greats of that time period, Hot Fuzz definitely stamped its place into history with the satirical homage to the classic action films of the late 20th century. Without further ado, here it is. 30 facts you didn't know about Hot Fuzz. Speaking on his motivation for creating Hot Fuzz, director Edgar Wright stated that they made it because there isn't really any tradition of cop films in the UK. We felt that every other country in the world has its own tradition of great cop action films, and we had none.
Have you ever fired your gun up in the air and gone, ah? No, I have not ever fired my gun up in the air and gone, ah.
The first draft of Hot Fuzz took an entire 8 months to complete, with a huge chunk of that time being spent in the research phase. One half of Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg's research involved interviewing as many cops as would let them, providing valuable information, and believe it or not, many of the zingers, including this one, came directly from those interviews.
I prefer to think my office is out on the street.
Many other officers lamented how paperwork was a huge tedious part of the job that's never talked about. Hearing this, Wright and Pegg decided they had to call attention to it, and dedicated a whole montage just to paperwork.
But there's no way you could perpetrate that amount of carnage and mayhem and not incur a considerable amount of paperwork.
The second half of their research involved making popcorn, kicking back, and watching movies. A whole lot of movies. In total, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg viewed 138 cop-related films to gather ideas for the plot, dialogue, and of course, any and all cliches they could find. After that was completed, it was another 9 months of rewrites before things were all said and done. Hot Fuzz has a touch of everything. Mystery, comedy, action, even a little bit of horror. Thinking about it, the one thing that's missing is romance. Early drafts of the script actually included a love interest named Victoria, though the character was discarded after they felt it took away from the pacing and overall story. Surprisingly, many of the romantic scenes and dialogue were kept in, often without any changes made to the script.
This for someone special.
Yes it is.
All they really did was replace Victoria with Danny.
Oh, good at what you do. You just gotta learn to switch off that big old melon of yours.
Simon Pegg said there were two major inspirations behind his character's name, Nicholas Angel. The first being his research leading to the finding that an unusual number of police officers were named either Andy or Nick. And the second was from Nick Angel, a music supervisor who worked on both Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. During Nicholas Angel's promotion to sergeant, the chief inspector says the following.
You can't just make people disappear.
Yes, I can. I'm the chief inspector.
Turns out he wasn't lying.
Hello, Nicholas.
Director Edgar Wright makes a cameo as a shelf stacker at the Summerfield supermarket. This wasn't just any old cameo though, as Wright formerly worked as a shelf stacker at the exact Summerfield branch where they filmed these very scenes. Simon Skinner was based on his old boss at the supermarket, Mike Stockwell, and for a brief second they considered naming him that, but ultimately decided it was too terrible a pun even for Hot Fuzz.
My discount's a criminal. Catch me later!
Anyone who's seen Hot Fuzz knows that it's stacked full of action and cop movie cliches. There's the infamous car hood slide, seeing the bad guy running from a second-story window, jumping into a dumpster, and the high-speed pursuit that follows, complete with shooting out the car windows. Witty one-liners,
Just say cool off. No, I didn't say anything actually. Shame.
racking the shotgun, firing a gun into the air, firing two guns while flying through the air, the villain's inevitable long monologue, suiting up, the white dove prior to the big fight, lots of bullets but they all miss, and the final showdown in the rain. When the convenience store clerk asks if they caught the killers yet,
No luck catching them killers then.
there's a poster in the background for the Killers' debut album, Hot Fuzz. Here's some more foreshadowing about farmers, their moms, and their moms' guns.
Everybody and their mums is packing round there.
Like who?
Farmers?
Who else?
Farmers' mums.
Speaking of moms, two of the Village of the Year judges are played by the mothers of Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright.
Nothing like a bit of girl on girl.
Hot Fuzz is the second film in the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, referring to Cornetto ice cream cones that can be found in Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. The different flavors symbolize certain themes inherent to each of the films. The strawberry flavor in Shaun of the Dead represents blood and gore. The blue signifies the police element in Hot Fuzz. And finally, mint chocolate chip in The World's End stands for little green men and science fiction. When Butterman is rummaging through DVDs while Angel chases down the shoplifter, there's a familiar title stashed in the bin. You're looking at Zombies Party, which was actually the release title of Shaun of the Dead in Spain, complete with a sticker hiding Simon Pegg's face.
How can this be for the greater good? Shut it!
Unless you read it somewhere, I'd be surprised if you knew about these two major cameos. Kate Blanchett plays Angel's ex-girlfriend Janine, and Peter Jackson, the loony Santa Claus. Going off that, you always love to see the attention to detail with stuff like this, as the scar can still be seen on Angel's hand during a later scene.
Hello, Nicholas. How's the hand?
It's still a bit stiff.
Apparently, when it came to underage drinker number 1, he kept forgetting his line until finally they told him to just use his real birthday.
22nd of February. What year? Every year. Get out.
Don't ask me how out of the 5 words he had to remember, he literally forgot 3 of them. Though maybe his forgetfulness contributed to this being his first and final role.
And that is Saxon.
Samson, the German shepherd who played the police dog Saxon in Hot Fuzz, was at one point up for the job of being a police dog in real life. He was ultimately rejected on account of being much too friendly, with not nearly enough natural aggression. So he did the next best thing and became a dog actor.
Why do we need the dog? It's not the dog we need.
After Lurch is defeated, he's funny enough shown to be resting in peace. Here's a mistake you don't see all too often in big productions. During the countryside car chase, it looks as if there's a bit of green screen they didn't fully edit out. Or was it just grass? As Edgar Wright saw people's comments and posted a tweet saying this was untrue and it was in fact grass and not a green screen. I don't know, on one hand, it totally looks like a green screen that wasn't keyed out. But if Wright says it's grass, I guess you gotta believe him. Unless he's just f***ing with us.
Narp.
Nick Frost agreed to join Hot Fuzz on one condition, that he could name his character Danny Butterman. Pegg and Wright agreed and told him the only thing he had to do in preparation for the role was watch these 20 action films and you're good to go. He only ever got around to watching Bad Boys 2.
Bad Boys 2? No, you ain't seen Bad Boys 2.
You're gonna have to trust me on this one because I can't exactly show this on YouTube, but when we're shown the swear box, all the words are censored except for English people's favorite insult and/or term of endearment. Cunt.
Sounds like a good bloke. Actually, he was arrested for selling drugs to students. What a c***.
Deciding on where to shoot Hot Fuzz, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg had the idea that since they both hail from West Country, it sort of lined up perfectly to go back to their beginnings and bring the action to where they grew up. Frome was considered, as well as Stowe in the World. However, they eventually settled on Wells in Somerset, the hometown of Edgar Wright. The city itself is pretty unremarkable. Really, the only thing it's known for is being England's smallest freestanding city. Technically, the city of London is smaller, but who's really counting that? Although it occupies an area of just over 2 square miles, like most cities in the UK, it has a cathedral, and a pretty striking one at that. The problem was, since Angel was supposed to be moving to the countryside, the big-ass cathedral sorta ruined the whole small-town aesthetic, so they had it digitally removed from every shot. Nicholas Angel is shown to be exceptional at his job, so much so that he basically predicts the entire movie.
Guilty people often make the first move.
Morning, Sergeant. Morning, Sergeant.
Morning, Sergeant.
Lock me up.
Morning, Sergeant.
Sergeant Angel, at last.
Edgar Wright explained that the title of Hot Fuzz was based on various action films from the 80s and 90s. More specifically, how many of them were 2 words long and had very little meaning. Think of Die Hard, Point Break, or Lethal Weapon. Simon Pegg joked that it seemed like many of the names were generated from 2 hats, one filled with adjectives and the other nouns, and they just picked out one card from each hat and called it a day. Furthermore, akin to how many of the names contain the same number of letters in each word, Wright originally planned on naming it Hot Fuzz. Upon hearing this, Pegg immediately shot it down, as he didn't want to have to explain the extra T in every interview.
You're a doctor. Deal with it.
Yeah, mother.
So Hot Fuzz had a moment where it broke the 4th wall, and I'm not the least bit surprised.
What say we drink to their demise?
Shouldn't that be drink to their memories?
Of course. Cheers.
It's only for a split second, but as you can see, Timothy Dalton looks directly at the camera. It was totally on accident, yet not a big deal, as Wright planned on removing it in post-production and none would be the wiser. That was until he started thinking it was actually kind of funny, which led to him leaving it in, and the next thing you know, he drew even more attention to the look with the sound of a cash register.
Shouldn't that be drink to their memories?
Of course. Cheers.
To me, it's like the cherry on top to a character who for the entire movie is screaming at the top of his lungs, "I am the villain."
There never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo.
Interestingly enough, Wright divulged that he almost put Timothy Dalton next to a neon sign that read "bad guy", however was unable to fit it in. Throughout the film, Sergeant Tony Fisher is portrayed as incompetent at best, shown by his constant inquiries and unassuredness in general.
Angel.
And if you were paying attention, the film told us everything we needed to know right when we were first introduced to him. All of these descriptors obviously fit Sergeant Fisher to a T, though the two written in black, indecisive and lack of leadership skills, changed by the end of the film.
The longer we wait, more time they got to mobilise. I say we go in through the front entrance, take the place oil by oil. They won't be expecting that.
We just sat through 3 hours of so-called acting, Constable. Their kiss was the only convincing moment in it.
Besides their terrible acting, Martin Blower and Eve Draper were also copycats. Looking at the 1996 rendition of Romeo and Juliet, the costumes are exactly the same, and their seemingly novel idea to use guns was taken straight from the film. And following their death and a need for 2 new actors to play Romeo and Juliet, the Neighborhood Watch are already putting on another play. The Turner twins, played by comedian Bill Bailey, are both shown to have an affection for reading. One is pictured with a book by Ian Banks, while the other a book by Ian M. Banks. As you'd have it, they're the same person. The author uses Ian Banks for his mainstream fiction novels, and Ian M. Banks for anything science fiction.
Nobody tells me nothing.
The sign in the pub describes the situation at hand. 2 shooters for the price of 1. On more than one occasion, bystanders would come up to Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, assuming they were real officers, and ask for directions, claiming it gave them a sense of power.
Sergeant Butterman, Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
The pair admitted that more often than not, they played along and didn't correct the mistake.
What made you want to be a policeman?
Officer.
What made you want to be a policeman officer?
Prior to the lay-by scene, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost had an argument of sorts. Pegg felt like Frost was getting too big of an ego by making the assistant directors get him coffee, and told him to go get it himself. The pair couldn't agree, which led to their refusal to talk for the entire day, save for the one scene they had to film together. And the ensuing awkwardness turned what should have been an easy scene to film into a 4-hour ordeal.
You didn't see anything suspicious, and who did?
This scene by the 2 detectives was totally improvised, and it nearly made the blooper reel. As you can see, Rafe Spall start to crack a smile as he leaves frame. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this.